With that, any other comments?
As Mr. Mayor, as a motion before the council, should we open this up to public commentary at this time?
We normally do that with scheduled agenda items, but there is someone out here who is scheduled to speak on this. So if we go ahead, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Mr. Brown, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, I'm Tim Brown, and I'm in Mr. Heath's district. And I have also talked with a number of people in the last several weeks about this. It seems to have come up for whatever reason. I don't exactly know why. But I think that one thing that we need to consider is that the way it is right now, it's, like you said, George, is more of a board of directors type of situation here now with the council electing the mayor and the pro tem. And it's also a little bit more of the English parliamentary system, the way they do things. And I'm just wondering, just for the sake of discussion, if having a popularly elected mayor, but, without any of the overriding veto power or anything like that, would make the members of the town think, whatever, to have a little bit more of a say in who is the figurehead, so to speak, of the town. So just a little bit of a philosophical idea that myself and several other people have talked about. So, but other questions I have or concerns about it have been discussed by council tonight. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Brown. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to discuss this item? If you just want to state your name for the record, whether you're a resident of Castle Rock, you do have 4 minutes.
Hello, I'm Mary Leonard, and I'm a resident of Castle Rock. I totally love the way it is. I really hope it stays the way it is, because the last thing we need is to have more people on the ballot, more controversy, and you guys do such a good job of communicating together as a team, and anytime I brought anything in to anyone, it's shown up, and I'm just really proud of you guys and how it's working, so I really hope that you do not change it.
Thanks, Ms. Leonard. Mr. Reed?
I am Randy Reed. I am a resident of the town of Castle Rock. Excuse me. I always want to thank the mayor and council for the opportunity to address you on any and all issues that I'm allowed to do so. I'm really kind of surprised that I hear about, I believe, 3 council people saying we have a lot of stuff in front of us and we don't know we want to take something else on. I think, as I recall when I was on council, when you'd starting out in April of whatever year, you didn't really know everything and all that was in front of you, and a number of things would come up in front of you throughout that year. And I think your job is to step up and be a leader in this community, to accept what comes up at any point in time in front of you and address it and deal with it properly. I've also heard here, how does this improve things? Well, I can tell you what, I spent 4 years as mayor of this town. I think you all know that. And let me tell you, I also spent those 4 years with the Metro Mayor's Caucus. And there's a different feeling there in that when you're elected from the town of Castle Rock from 1 year at a time as mayor. Currently, I know we're 2 years. But there's a difference there when somebody that's elected townwide. And I'm not going to say it's a lack of respect or anything like that, but it's a different deal that they know you may be here next year, you may not be here next year. That also goes on when you deal with your elected officials throughout Douglas County, your state representatives, your federal representatives, as well as your other locally elected officials. It is very important to have the continuity in this town to deal with this, in this town, in this county, in this district, to know that we know who's going to be there year in and year out. The people of Castle Rock, I've had numerous people tell me they voted for me as mayor. Guess what? None of those people did. Castle Rock is the oldest municipality in Douglas County. Castle Rock is the only municipality that does not elect a mayor townwide. Castle Pines, and I don't know the exact dates, but it's maybe 8 years old, 9, 10 years old. They elect their mayor townwide. I also heard no discussion about a strong mayor or weak mayor. I heard discussion about a mayor having a veto right and overpowering and all like that. In most municipalities, when the mayor is elected townwide, the only time they vote is when there's a tie. Well, that happens here right now, folks, when you vote 4-3, and I've seen many elections here that are 4-3. So I don't understand some of the statements that I've heard tonight, why we want to oppose this. I think this would be a great thing for the community. I think this moves the community from 1985 to maybe 2015. It makes you a community that makes you a real viable entity of the town council that is representative of the community, not just who I elected in my district or somebody I opposed, maybe who was somebody else elected in a different district, and that person votes for somebody to be mayor, and I oppose that. I would like to have an opportunity to vote for the mayor of the town of Castle Rock, which I very proudly got to. I only got 30 seconds? Yeah. Thanks. Then I'll just wind it up. Thank you, Mayor. And I hope that you reconsider and understand the things between strong mayor, weak mayor, and what a great opportunity you have to put in front of the people here to allow them to elect their mayor townwide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council on this item? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Carl Klinger, and I've read the charter, and I respect the way it sets. I understand others may have more weight in their previous positions or opinions, but when this issue comes up, it's interesting that it's new members of the council that are proposing it, not the incumbents. I think that when the Fox makes a proposition that there's a changing of the guard at the hen house, there might be other powers at play. I think the way it stands, it's good. The mayor doesn't have the overwhelming power over the other town council members. And I think the way it was set up in the beginning was done right. And if we're going to recharter, if we're going to fix a lot of things, perhaps this should be something in a measure that's going to bring out the masses to decide that. And at the same time, we can decide on these other things that face the town that have changed over the decades, because we have grown and we're going to grow. And we are going to be a town of, well, who knows? I've heard the estimates, but we're getting a 1 million square foot shopping center, and we already have the outlets that everybody knows about. This is the stop between Colorado Springs and Denver. And as a resident of that town, I'd like to see that rather than making nickel and dime changes, we bring a new charter and propose it to the town if changes are going to be made. In the election, there were not very high numbers that turned out. So we are leaving it to a minority to determine certain things if we leave that in the election itself. But if people know that 2 years from now we're going to have a recharter, everybody needs to show up because there are big issues at stake, we're going to have a big turnout. We're going to have the town represented and not just the minority that has the popular vote for that particular election. And so I think the way it's set up with executive positions having limitations in this representative government, it's good. We shouldn't make a popular vote make decisions about executive roles within our government. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council on this issue? And seeing none, we'll close the public comment. We'll bring it back to council for action. Any further comments on this? If I could just address a couple of things there in terms of the respect that Castle Rock gets at the Metro Mayor's Caucus. I don't think that has anything to do with the amount of time that we spend in office. We do have two-year terms now for mayor, and I think that the Castle Rock is well represented, not just on the Metro Mayor's Caucus, but they're represented very well in the Front Range. Another argument I heard was that, we're the only municipality that doesn't have this. And I guess as I look at our municipality, I compare us to other municipalities, I just think we rank among the highest on many different issues, on many different items. And I don't necessarily see that because we don't do it like everyone else does, that there's a problem with it, or that there's an issue. Was talking with Chuck Rohr, who is actually helping us find a new town manager. And he comes from a community of 100,000 people. And they did recently change to electing a mayor at large, but up until 100,000, they still had a council form of government. And I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. I think that people can kind of nitpick both of them, finding pros and cons, but I think that this still works for Castle Rock. I think it works well. I think that there's a balance of authority, a balance of power, and as a resident of Castle Rock, which I will be and am and will be soon, I think that will still continue to work. So just wanted to respond to some of the things I heard out there. We heard some positive things too, that there are people that do like it, that do think it's responsible, that do think it's still working. So at this time, Councilman Ford?
I'd just like to throw in some comments as well. I think that when we look at our role, we have, since I've been here, we have extended 3 meetings past the hours of what's been given. We have never had a town council meeting where we've sat around at 7 o'clock wondering what else to talk about. So I think that there's plenty of stuff at the town. It's called priorities. I think that we pick which are most important, and I think those are the ones that we focus on. To me, this is a solution looking for a problem. I think we found out with the election that there's some places that we can tighten the ship up. I don't see where this one is. Again, I think we've got priorities that are more important than chasing this one. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, we do have a motion on the table. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Nay. And that motion fails 5-2.